Hello everybody, Ni Hao, and welcome to our first episode of China Economy and Society. Today we start our first series of documentaries and we talk about Chinese rural economy. Because in order to understand the Chinese economic development model and the business opportunity that China offers, we need first to understand how the rural economy operates. And this is true no matter if your business activity is related to manufacturing electronic products, textile, or any other sector. China economy is a complex and interrelated ecosystem, and the beginning is in the countryside. China's future growth relies largely on the migration flow of farmers that move from the countryside to the cities. This provides an input to economic growth. And this is quite natural. Everyone seeks a better life, higher salaries, better living conditions, and access to more services. China has been very successful in adopting this growth model over the last 30 years, since the opening up and reform policies introduced in 1978 by Deng Xiaoping. This has worked until now. But what about the future? Today, GDP forecast relies largely on the assumption that this flow of migrants will continue for the next 2 decades, and about 12 million people per year are expected to move from the countryside to the cities. However, this is what the farmers themselves think. Let's hear them.
不愿意。
那些城市呢不要了。
农村好。
我不离开了，我要到农村了。农村的空气好一点。
一路要归根吧，肯定要早晚也要归农村了。
So, is the general belief that such migration flow is going to be guaranteed in the future too optimistic? Does China economic growth face challenges? To answer these questions, we travel to Guizhou, in the southwest of China. Guizhou is the province with the lowest GDP per capita of $2,200 per year, compared to that of Shanghai, that reaches more than $10,000 per year. But let's first briefly review the history of rural reforms. Before 1978, no matter how high farmers' production yield was, their income was capped, and therefore there was no incentive to work harder to produce more. Then Deng Xiaoping introduced sweeping reforms that allowed farmers to retain any additional output that could be sold for extra income. One does not have to have a Nobel Prize to understand that this completely changed the dynamics of production. One of the most important results of these reforms was the dramatic increase in farmers' income. This graph shows the evolution of both the rural and urban personal income from 1978 until today. Back in 1978, the average income for a rural resident was only 130 renminbi. Today it has reached 7,000 renminbi, an increase of more than 50 times. At the same time, urban citizen income also increased from 340 renminbi back in 1978 to more than 22,000 today. I like to divide this 30 years period since reforms into 3 stages. During the first decade, the urban to rural income ratio decreased significantly, indicating that the early beneficiaries of reforms were indeed farmers. I call this the Deng Xiaoping area, who was himself originally from a rural province of Sichuan. Then, from 1990 to 2004, economic development shifted in favor of urban development, in particular coastal cities. This is the period where Jiang Zemin was a preeminent figure. He himself was a former mayor of Shanghai. Finally, in the last decade, under the leadership of Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, which introduced the concept of harmonious society, the urban to rural income ratio remained pretty much stable. Therefore, if you want to forecast the evolution of this ratio, you simply need to look at the background and the place of origin of the current leadership.